Hello everyone and welcome to this live session. We will talk about the Shiny 3D solution for desktop scanners for dental labs and clinics. I'm going to acquire two impressions with the AutoScan-DS-EX Pro version S provided by Shiny 3D. At the end of the acquisition process, I will share the output surfaces with my colleague Filippo. He will design the prosthesis with the Dental CAD application of exocad and he will print them out working with the Acufab 1 3D printer provided by Shiny 3D. So let's start with a brief overview of the dental order system tool. This is the platform for managing the job definition. It's possible to create a new job. It's possible to load jobs that have been already defined. Opening the setting menu, the end user can set which CAD software he would like to work with: exocad, 3Shape, and Dental Wings. Once set the CAD software, the Shiny 3D tool will optimize the surfaces, the output surfaces for that specific CAD. In this menu is possible to change the user interface language, and as you can see, there are several available languages. This is another very important parameter. Thanks to the deep integration between the Shiny 3D system and the exocad 1, it's possible to launch the CAD application provided by exocad directly from the dental order system tool, just setting the right path of the dental CAD application of exocad, this one. The last parameter is so helpful and is called order file naming rule, and it allows to customize the folder's name of the stored job. So you can decide the details that will be reported in the name of the project's folder. So the order ID detail is mandatory. Then you can add the data, you can add the patient name, and so on. Here you have the preview of the folder's name. On the right side of the screen, it's possible to set the personal dental cloud. Actually, we have already covered this topic in a previous live session, but you can find the recorded video of that specific session, but also of the other live sessions in our new YouTube channel. Its name is Shiny 3D Dental. I strictly suggest you to have a look at this YouTube channel because you can find there very interesting and helpful videos. So let's go. Okay, I did not mention the possibility to change the user interface depending on the customer needs. Let's say there are two different available user interfaces, one designed for clinics and one designed for dental labs. Let me set the device type as clinic. Once applied, I'm asked to restart the tool in order to get available what I have set, and here you are, the user interface designed for clinics. On the left side, it's possible to manage the Anagrafica of the project. On the right side of the screen, you can define your project. The first setting the end user is asked to do is to define what kind of object or model he has in his hands. In case of impression, three different options are available: 3-portrait, impression plus stone models for occlusions, or impressions plus bite impression. In case of separated model, it's necessary to highlight the elements that will be involved in that project, and once highlighted them, it's possible to set the kind of job. As you can see, for this user interface that I remember, it has been defined and designed for clinics, just a subset of the available jobs is displayed. Then for the non-separated model, the end user can highlight which arc he would like to acquire. Obviously, it's possible to acquire both the arches, and also two options are available: ortho and free scan options. Unfortunately, we have not enough time during this live session for covering also the explanation of these options. Perhaps we will cover that explanation in a future video tutorial or live session and so on. Okay, let's start our sample case, our demo case. I would like to jump back to the Dental CAD user interface. I have to restart as I did before. There we are. On the left side, I can manage the Graphica. On the right side, I can define my job, highlighting the elements that will be involved. So I have a bridge of 3 elements. Between the 2 bites, I have an anatomic pontic, so a missing element, and also the antagonists are available. Please pay attention when you set the scan type and the occlusion, because these parameters, these settings, will affect the acquisition workflow. So for the scan type, I'm asked to set what kind of object I have in my hands. In this case, impression. For the occlusion, I have to set what kind of object includes the occlusion details. In my case, the bite impression. Once set my job and checked that the job has been defined properly, I can save it. I have to set the patient name, my name, and once saved, I can start the acquisition process. I take advantage for switching on the webcam. Here we are. So the software displays a window with different options. So it's possible to acquire texture, and I would like to point out that also acquiring texture, the exported file, the output file formats are open, OBJ and PLY. Or you can add different options as the pre-op or Gengiva and so on. When pressed OK, I can start with the first step. The Shining 3D system is very easy to use, also because a workflow, an acquisition workflow is available. So the end user is followed step by step and is asked to do step by step something in order to be sure to get at the end of the acquisition process the perfect surfaces for starting the design process. At the first step, I'm asked to insert the bite impression. This is the way, as you can see in the webcam, this is the way for holding the bite impression by plastering on this plate, and you can put the plate in this way. The connection between the plate and the scanner is magnetic, so I'm sure that the plate will not move from the default position before starting the acquisition. I'm working with the version S of the AutoScan-DS-EX Pro series. It means that I can also move the scanner's head by this cursor in order to get its position as the best one for acquiring my object. I'm doing it manually. I can also ask the software to do it automatically, just setting this parameter. By moving this cursor, I change the value of the camera's exposure. That is for, let's say, optimizing the acquisition in your environment. You know that every kind of environment has a light pollution, and for optimizing the acquisition of this object in every kind of environment, we have implemented the possibility to set manually or automatically, by pressing Auto Adjust, the camera's exposure. Once set everything, I can start my acquisition. The place moves, and the optical group starts acquiring the surface of my object, as you can see on the monitor. The first result of an acquisition is a point cloud, as you can see here. At the end of the acquisition, I can decide to add further acquisition, but let me say that I'm going to show you how to add further data in the next steps, or I can clean my point cloud moving and setting the right position of the cut plane. I can move that cut plane by pressing the left mouse button, or I can rotate it following the directions defined by the green arrows, as I'm doing now. Okay, it's okay, I can go ahead. Okay, second step. At the second step, I'm asked to insert the lower impression. Shiny 3D has designed a specific plate for holding impressions. Thanks to this clip, I'm sure that the impression doesn't move during the acquisition. So let me take it off and insert this plate in the right way. Sorry, I'm working just with one hand. Okay, that's perfect. And start. As before, the software starts moving the plate, but the number of the plate's positions is not the same that we see in the previous step. That's because the software knows that we are acquiring an impression, so more data are required. On the screen, you can see, on the monitor, you can see the point cloud acquired by the default cycle. I told you default because it's possible to customize the acquisition cycles, adding further acquisition where I need to add data, just on the region where I need to add data. There are two ways for doing it, but before, let me set it again. I'm doing it manually. Remember that the software can do it automatically, and let me set the right exposure for the impression. So, for adding data, as I told you, I can do it manually, or I can work with the intelligent add scan algorithm. If I wanted to add manually, I'm asked to move the impression, and the software moves the plate in order to acquire the impression in the exact position that you can see on the screen, the exact position where you have moved the surface previously. Or, and that algorithm is really helpful especially for the impression, I can add in an intelligent way. So opening the intelligent add scan tool, I am asked to highlight by moving my mouse the region of the surface where I wanted to add more data. I'm selecting just the posterior because I want to show you that the anteriors will not be affected by the new data, as you can see. So the software is moving the plate and is deciding the best place positions for acquiring the missing data, exactly on the region that I have highlighted previously. As you can see, it's quite perfect. I don't mind about the anterior, not during this session. Exit. Okay, now I can clean my point cloud working with the different kind of selection tool. For cleaning the point cloud it's just necessary to delete what I don't need. So this part and so on. I can delete also at the last step of the acquisition process. Please insert the upper impression. So I'm taking off the lower impression and I'm inserting the upper impression. This is the right position on the plate. Obviously, if you put it in this way, this position cannot be considered as the right one. Okay. Let's go. Next. As before, the software starts with the default cycle for impression. Then, at the end of this default cycle, I can add and customize how to acquire or the region where I wanted to add further data. The possibility to customize the cycles is really time-saving. And because the cycle in this case depends on the geometry of your model. So if you need to add data, you can do it. If you don't need, you can go ahead without adding further acquisition. As before, I'm setting the right parameters and then I can add data in a manual way or thanks to the intelligent add scan. As before, I'm highlighting the posteriors because I really need to have perfect data, the perfect surface on that region, and the software is adding acquisition also is adding acquisition just on the highlighted region. Okay, pressing next, the software starts aligning the lower jaw with the bite impression acquired at the first step. This alignment is automatic. So the software is working now. This is the lower and the bite. By pressing next, the software starts aligning also the upper jaw with the bite impression automatically. Next, here we are at the last step. So I can clean my mesh, because now we have a mesh, not a point cloud. I can do it in different ways. Let me do it highlighting what I wanted to save. Then I will invert the selection for deleting the noise, let's say. Inverting selection, just a check, and that's it. If I do something wrong like this, I can go back for restoring the previous situation. Okay, or what I can do now. Remember that I did not add data and acquisition for the anteriors. That was for showing you, I did it intentionally, that was for showing you that the software is able to fill the holes, as you can see here, for the missing part. Okay, actually I don't need the perfect surface here for designing my job. That is the reason, because you can highlight just the region where you need to have further data for saving time. That is for saving time. Obviously, if you want to obtain a perfect final mesh, you can select and highlight the whole point cloud, let's say, when you add acquisition in an intelligent way. Okay, this is done. The two models are in a perfect position, in a closer position, and now I can press complete, because this job can be considered as completed. At this point, I can open directly the ExoDesign software, or I can open Explore for opening the folders project, where you can find the file.dental project, that is for exocad, and the three different surfaces that have been acquired. Okay, before asking my colleague Filippo to start designing this bridge and to print it out with the AcuFab 1 3D printer, I would like to share with you the new amazing functions with the AutoScan-DS-EX Pro family of scanner. Just an overview. The first is related to the non-separated models. So it's so difficult to scan the teeth gap because of the angle and limited space. However, this scanners family, so the DS-EX Pro, can generate an optimized scan path and add data or scan to fill the lack of data automatically with the intelligent add scan feature. So the intelligent planned scan path and scientific algorithm can capture more narrow area data so that also the no-separated models can be acquired with more details easily. It is a great function, really. The second I would like to share with you is called all-in-one. This is, let's say, a new scan method, and it allows the acquisition of quadrant models plus the dies at the same time, just in one acquisition step, thanks to this special plate. And as you can see, thanks to this function, it's possible to simplify largely the scan process because just two acquisition steps are necessary for getting the perfect surfaces for starting the design process. Then if you wanted to add your models put into an articulator, it's possible to do it. There are two ways for acquiring the models into the articulator, the static one and the dynamic scan. Working with the AutoScan-DS-EX Pro family is possible to acquire in the dynamic way, so you can put your articulator on this special plate, and the scanner can capture more vestibular surfaces of the models in order to improve further occlusion precision. So also this new function is very helpful. The last one, actually the list of the new functions and the available features is very long, but I decided just to show you a subset of them, obviously. The last one is related to the optimization of the acquisition of the implant abutments. So you know that acquiring an implant abutment, the whole of the screw channel is present, obviously, because the acquisition, the scanner acquires the real surface of the model for starting the CAD process, it's necessary to fill the screw channel hole, and thanks to the new intelligent sealing algorithm, that hole filling or screw channel filling, let's say, is quite perfect, and it's possible to get an optimized mesh for starting designing the external crown that will be cemented on this abutment. From my side, that's all. I would like to say thank to you for your time, for your attention. Please feel free to write all your questions in the chat box. We will be glad to answer at the end of the live session. And now my colleague Filippo is going to show you how to design the bridge that I defined in the Shining system, how to define it working with the exocad applications, and how to print it out working with the Acufab 1 3D printer provided by Shining 3D. Provided by Shining 3D. So thanks again and take care. Bye.
Thank you, Simone, and good afternoon to everyone. So we can start with the CAD phase. I've just clicked on load. It's necessary to click on exocad project, and clicking on the dental project file, we can import the definition that we did in the dental manager. So we can proceed with the design. Clicking on design, the software exocad automatically loads all the STL that we have acquired inside the folder, and we can start defining the margin. I can try detecting the margin, but of course with the impression and also with the intraoral acquisition is not easy to use this tool to define the margin, so I suggest to draw the margin. Another useful tool in this step is the magnetic line drawing. Without this tool, of course, we can draw the margin when we prefer, but I suggest to check the margin if you draw it without the magnetic tool. With the impression and with the intraoral acquisition, you can revert the mesh in order to check if the margin is in the right position. Let me try to fix as better as possible the margin. Okay, and we can proceed with the element 14. Also here I'm using the free draw without the magnetic tool. Okay, let me finish the margin. Okay, it's just an example so I can go faster. Okay, and we can proceed to the next step. This step is related to the cement gap, as you know. We can draw the brush in order to select the area where we want a no cement gap. I would remember that a useful tool is the cut view in order to check what we are doing. As you can see, the green line are the area where there isn't cement, where there isn't space for the cement. Related to the border, here you have all the parameters in the explanation in order to know what are related. Okay, just to have an example, I've modified the horizontal and the angled parameter in order to show you what happened. Okay, we can proceed. Okay, this is a very useful tool in my opinion. Is the mirror. If you cannot see this tool, you can open it clicking on expert button, then right button on the element that you need to design, and you can select the mirror function. The mirror function is very useful because thanks to this tool we can copy the shape of the teeth in the opposite position, and we can use it like a walks-up, like a reference. Now the software is asking me which element I have just defined, which element I have copied thanks to the mirror tool. Okay, now I'm placing the element 14, and that's it. Let me just try to fix the position and the size of the teeth. Okay. Okay, once complete the placing of the teeth, we can proceed with the modeling phase. Pressing next, the software connects the shape that I defined to the margin ring. Let me try to smooth a little the teeth in the lower part. Okay, I think it's okay. Meanwhile, I would remember you that clicking just with the left button of the mouse, you can add the material. Holding down the shift button on your keyboard plus the left button of the mouse, you can remove the material in the freeform modulation phase, and holding down the control button plus the left click of the mouse, you can obtain a regular surface. Another important and useful tool is related the distance in the pontic element between the frame and the gingiva. I suggest to use the adapt to gingiva plus the flag on pull down to gingiva. This is in order to have a perfect control related the gap that we have between the gingiva and the frame. This is my personal way that I use to design the pontic. Okay, let me just check if everything is fine, is okay. Let me smooth a little once again the pontic. Okay. Okay, proceeding with the connectors. I would like to print this frame, this restoration at the end, so I prefer to increase the diameter of the connector. Thanks to the through smile function, it's possible to check the real color of the frames once completed the job. And pressing next, exocad show us what we designed, show the frame that we designed. Proceeding once again, exocad proceeding automatically in the model creator. We have already did a specific webinar related to the model creator and related the AccuFab, so for this reason I can proceed faster in the step related to the model creator. I have just selected the element that I want to remove, I mean the dice that I want to extract from the model once printed. Okay, now the software is creating the base plus the dies. As you can see, we can check together the distance between the removable dies and the model. Thanks once again to the cut view, we can have perfect control of the distance in order to set this parameter as better as possible in combination with the printer that we have in our lab. Okay, this is for the lower. I can press run in order to create the base also for the lower. Okay. Okay, now I can add some attachments in order to save the occlusion once print the model. I think 4 can be fine for this kind of model. For a full arch, I prefer to insert 4 attachments. Okay, that's it. Pressing next once again, exocad create and save the STL in the folder and show us the final result. The model plus the removable dies plus the frame that we designed. Let me save. Okay. Here you are all the files that we just exported. Let me open the DLP 3D software in order to set up the printer, in order to set up the printing platform and to proceed with the printing phase. Okay, I've just asked the software to auto-organize the space between the elements. I've asked 3 millimeters of distance between the elements. Now I'm setting up some parameters related to the supports. I prefer to print with the top radius pins like 0.26 millimeter. I'm increasing a little the bottom side of the pins, and I've also increased the height of the pins. Okay, we are ready to slice the objects, and we can start importing the file into the printer. Okay, here you are the printing phase. As you can see, I've just closed the door of the printer. I'm inserting the USB stick with the file inside. I'm selecting the file in order to start the printing phase. Now the printer is loading the slice inside his memory. In this way I can also remove the USB stick during the printing phase, and we are ready to press the print button. And finally, here you are the result. Here you are the model that we designed together a few minutes ago. As you can see, the frame, the bridge fit perfectly and close perfectly on the margin ring on the dies. Okay. And finally, here you are also the result with the dice inside the model. I've printed also part of the model in order to save material with a different material in order to test the accuracy of the bridge that we designed, and of course also changing the material. The bridge, the frame fit perfectly, and as you can see, close perfectly on the margin ring, also on the model, on the part of the model that I've printed with the ortho material. As you can see, the bridge is perfectly closed, also with the ortho material. Look also the retention. As you can see, I'm not taking with my hand the dies, but as you can see, the retention of the bridge is good. I mean, the dies stay perfectly in contact with the bridge without any pressures. Okay, this is just an example of another bridge that I designed a few days ago. This is a design of a 4-element bridge of the frontal teeth. Okay, let me insert the last die inside the model. It's a very small die. Okay, and as you can see, also here the bridge fit perfectly on the dies, and the retention is great also in this case. Of course, it's better to print the bridge with a castable material in order to obtain with the cast process a metal frame. Okay, thank you once again for your time and your attention, and of course, if you have any question, please feel free to ask us what you prefer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Simone and Filippo, for the extraordinary presentation once again, and thanks to all of you for having attending the webinar today. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. We hope you enjoyed the digital workflow that Shining 3D is able to provide with such a continuous connection between scanner, design, and printing. As always, I would like to remind you that we are always available to reply to your comments here for this short Q&A session at the end of the webinar, as well as via email or in the direct messages here on Facebook. In a few minutes, we will paste here in the comments we will paste the link to watch again the video on our YouTube channel, so that in case you have lost the first part of the webinar, or if you want to rewatch the webinar from the beginning, there will be the chance to do that as many times as you want, whenever you want. Of course, if you are going to watch the video on YouTube again and you want to leave a comment below the video on YouTube, we will be glad to reply to your comments and to your questions also below the video on YouTube. So as you can see, you have plenty of ways to reach us, to get in touch with us. So we look forward to hearing from you for all your questions. Thank you all. Thank you for all the participants who are thanking us. We are very happy all the time to sharing with you some contents about what we can have, what we can provide with our digital dentistry solution. So thank you for always be here with us and be so interactive with us. It's always a pleasure for us. As I said before, in these last 5 minutes, we are totally available to reply to all your questions. So if you have any doubts about what you have seen, feel free to ask. Filippo, Simone, Rita, and me are completely available to answer to your doubts, to your questions, and to solve your doubts. For the moment, I assume that everything looks pretty clear to all of you. And well, it's been, from my point of view, it's been really interesting to see the latest functions and tools of the scanning software. I can see huge improvements actually, and very useful new functions and tools in comparison with the previous versions of the software. This is something really interesting. All the time that I see a new release, I am really amazed about the news. And that's a good opportunity for me to kindly remind you that if you have not updated, if you are already users of Shining 3D dental scanners and you have not updated yet the dental software, the scanning software, feel free to contact us and we will share the link to download the latest version of the scanning software to let you enjoy the best experience with our scanners. And yeah. That's another important point I wanted to remark. Okay, so I assume that everything has been clear. Once again, please feel free to contact us via email at dental_support@shining3d.com for any technical questions, or at sales@shining3d.com to contact us for commercial info. You can also contact us here on Facebook at a private message or on YouTube, as I said before, to comment our videos. We will always be available to get back to you to provide all the information you need. And we do hope to see you again next week to the next webinar managed by the European team of Shining 3D. And we will also have another webinar this week on Thursday. So we hope you enjoy our webinar, our live sessions, and we would like to sincerely thank you all once again for being part of these virtual sessions that we are happy to organize. So thank you once again to all of you. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. See you next week. Bye bye.